Hey, I'm Jerry Jennings at Tag Music, and today I want to focus on the 3-note per string pattern, G major scale. And there's two things that I want to talk about with the scale. One is certain difficulties that people seem to have in playing this pattern, and the other thing is certain misunderstandings that are usually associated with how it relates to the modes. So let's start with the execution of the scale. So here's me. I'm just gonna play the scale one time. So this is the 3-note per string pattern, pattern 1, G major scale. Okay. So now the thing is, when we play bluesy stuff like so many of us do, see how the weight of my hand is all it's weighted on the first finger, and there's a different slant to my hand. And when we do the 3-note per string patterns, I see people do it this way, and it seems like a lot of work. So let's just see. Here I am. I'm going to kind of weight everything on that first finger, and I'm going to come in at a slant, and you see how it's really hard for me to kind of reach that 4th finger up to the 7th fret. So this is a thing I call the ritual, and it's the response to that problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to get on the 4th fret, okay, so G's on the 3rd, we're on the 4th fret, we're going to line up all the fingers, 1 finger per fret, okay. I call this the ritual because I want you to do it every time you play the scale until you no longer need to, which might be a month. Okay, so I'm lining up all the fingers, 1 finger per fret. That's step 1. Step 2 is my thumb might still be back a ways, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it in to where I'm centered right here. So my thumb's probably going to be right behind the 5th fret. Okay, so I let my hand drop into a position that's real natural with my thumb kind of central to this, right? Now the 3rd step of the ritual is I'm going to point my first finger over. So now instead of weighting everything on my first finger, all the weight now is on kind of going to be on my 2nd finger. So watch as I go up the scale. I'm reaching to the G note, and now in the next string I'm not going to reach, but nothing else changes. So you see the 2nd finger stays lined up. And it isn't until we get to the last 2 strings that people tend to mess up the next part. And that is, when I go to the next 2 strings, see how I still have the vertical quality to my fingers. Now, if I don't do this right, I'm going to end up here, and I'm going to end up kind of angling my fingers again. So what I want to do is, when I go to the next string, I'm just going to make a real deliberate move up 1 fret. So everything just moved up a fret. And now I still have the vertical quality in my fingers. So here's the ritual. I'm 1 finger per fret, get my hand centered around that with my thumb right behind it, reach back, play up the scale, okay? The 2nd finger never leaves that 5th fret until we go to the 2nd string, and I'm going to keep my vertical quality as I move up, and I move the thumb with it, and I finish it out, okay? So that's the first thing that I wanted to talk about. The second thing I want to talk about is, okay, now this is a 3-note per string pattern, and there are 7 of these patterns. So this is pattern 1, okay, this is pattern 2, which we're not going to get into, pattern 3, I used to know how to play. Okay, so now the reason we're talking about those patterns is, it seems like I meet a lot of people that want to call this the Ionian mode, this the Dorian mode, this the Phrygian mode. Okay, and that's not a good way to think. You don't want to think that way, because it's going to really paint you into a corner. Because here's the real truth of it, and we're just going to focus on the first pattern. And the first pattern, just like all the other patterns, contains all 7 modes. So to get the modes, what we're going to do is focus on a note. Okay, so if we focus on the G note by playing from G to G, that's G Ionian. The whole pattern isn't necessarily G Ionian. The whole pattern is just G major scale, which could be any mode, right? Now, because here I am in the G major scale pattern, 3-note per string pattern, and now I'm going to focus on the A note by starting and ending on an A note. And I'm going to say A Dorian, okay? So now I'm playing what I call a 2nd finger shape, because I'm starting with my 2nd finger doing an A Dorian. Okay, now I'm going to start with my 4th finger on the B note and keeping the rest of the scale all exactly the same, now I have B to B is the B Phrygian mode. Okay, so C Lydian, D Mixolydian, E Aeolian, also called natural minor, F sharp Locrian, and then G Ionian one more time. Okay, so now this works with all the scales, the scale patterns, and like I said, we're not going to get into all the others, but I do want to just show you one more just to kind of hammer in what we just said. So here I am on the second pattern for G major. So, and again, this isn't the Dorian pattern. This is kind of critical because it contains a Dorian at the beginning of it. But again, all the modes are present. So if I start on B, this is a B Phrygian mode. Then C Lydian, D Mixo. Okay, so etc. So again, the point I'm getting at is all the modes are present in all 7 of the 3 note per string patterns. And so, in fact, if I want to do G Ionian right here, I can do it. See, that belongs to pattern 2, but I'm playing G Ionian. Okay, so let's see, I want to take that one step further now, and I just want to say that when I'm saying that this is G Ionian, because I'm starting and ending on G, well, that's how you're taught what a mode is, right? Or A Dorian. I'm taught that's A Dorian because we're starting and ending on it. But that starting and ending is just a way to emphasize it. So, in other words, it doesn't matter what I start and end on necessarily. The mode is actually coming from the other sounds in the room, assuming you're playing in a band. Like if the bass player's riding on a G note, while I'm playing the scale, I'm going to be drawn to notes that are part of the G Ionian sound. But if the bass player's riding on an A note and I'm playing the G major scale, then I'm going to be drawn to notes that are part of the A minor chord, and I'm going to be creating an A minor or A Dorian sound. So, and that doesn't mean I'm starting and ending on A at all, but it just means that the sound in the room is creating the gravitational pull to the notes that are the strongest in that pattern. So I have a little example that I'm going to show you, and it requires me to use my little Electro-Harmonix 360 looper to kind of create a little groove. Okay, so this is my little A Dorian groove. It's 2 chords that are derived from the key of G. So you see how I'm pulled to A notes, right? I'm pulled to A notes, but there's other notes that I might be pulled to as well. The C note is the flat third in A, or it's the flat 7 in the D9 chord that I'm using, right? Now that's the 6th in A, but from the D7 chord, it's the 3rd. Okay. Now you might notice I just kind of went to the A blues scale a little bit. Okay, so I went to the A blues scale a little bit, but the A blues scale, as you may kind of realize, is tied in with the G major scale.